Greetings, beloved Princeton United Methodist Church community. It's Pastor Jenny here, and I'm reading today from 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 13. It says, David said to Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. This is the word of life. Thanks be to God. Before I comment on that, I just want to say a thank you to you, the PUMC congregation. Bobby, Elliott, and I were on vacation the past couple of weeks. We had the opportunity to go up to Maine and to Acadia National Park, and so we spent time in and around the park and just a lot of time together, a lot of time in nature, a lot of time without a schedule, and so it was relaxing and good and needed, and I'm grateful for it. I'm also grateful to be back and to be in worship with you this coming Sunday, and we will dive into this passage together. This passage, of course, follows what Pastor Allie talked about last week. She preached around the story of David and Bathsheba. This passage immediately follows it, and I encourage you to go in and read before that. And if you didn't read last week's passage or you didn't hear in worship, then please do that too. So looking at chapters 11 and 12 of 2 Samuel, this is a place where Nathan, the prophet of God, comes and confronts David after his indeed sinful acts that he committed against Bathsheba and Uriah, her husband, and Nathan, the prophet, comes to confront David in some really powerful and beautiful ways. I know that for many of us, we do not do well when we are confronted with the sin that we have committed, the wrongs that we have done, the hurt that we have caused. We do not like to hear what we have done. It is painful for us, and we as just human beings tend to resist blame. We look for ways to cast the blame somewhere else, to rationalize what we've done, to try to make it less than it really is, to deny the hurt, to deny the brokenness. I'm actually in a retreat right now. It's a virtual retreat. I'm here at my house, and but I'm on a break as well, so I'm recording this. But the speaker that we have is talking about how hard, in part, talking about how hard it is for us to deal well with sin, especially as United Methodists, where we happen to be kind of in the big umbrella of the church, in that zone of the church that tends to emphasize grace over sin. Now, we, of course, are going to keep emphasizing grace. These things should go together, but sometimes different churches have a tendency to emphasize one over the other and not find that good balance in between. I hope I have tried over the past several years to help us talk about sin in some ways, but I also need we all need to help with this. It's hard for me as well. But we have talked together about sin being separation and brokenness of relationship between us and God, between us and others, one another, between us and something within ourselves. We have a kind of an inner self that we can be broken from, separated from, and we also can be separated from creation. And so as we think about sin, it happens in some of these different dimensions, and it is important for us to honestly see the ways that we contribute to brokenness and separation, brokenness of relationship and separation, the ways that we contribute to harm other people, to harm creation, to harm our connection with God and ourselves too. This is hard for us to do. Now, we also have a confession every single week in our worship. And I wonder, for the purpose of this kind of reflection today, is how you connect with that practice of confession. Now, I know that we typically do it in a way that has some words to it that we give you, and then we give some space, a little bit of space, for you, for silent prayer, to name your own reflections and things. I also know that this is a part of the service that it's easy to gloss over, right? It's easy to go through the motions and to kind of stay at the surface with it. And it's meant, of course, to help us dig into parts of our lives that we don't like to see, that we don't like to name. It's meant to help us dig into our hearts and our minds and our souls and our physicality, to help us be aware that we are not perfect, that we are actually in need of God's grace to make us the kind of perfect that God desires of us, perfect in love. Perfected by God's grace to love like God does. But we are not there. We are not there. And until we are, we must do this confession thing. So I wonder, though, what your relationship is to this. Are you somebody who glosses over that part of the service, wants to either deny that we are in need of God's grace at all, that we have done the harm that we claim to have done in those confessions? Maybe you're somebody who wishes we would be even stronger in the confession language and more convicted around the ways that we do indeed cause harm to one another. But I wonder what your relationship is with confession in worship, but confession out in other times too, when somebody confronts you with the need to talk about a way that you have harmed them, that you've hurt them. That I wonder what happens when you become aware of the ways that that you need to confess that you have sinned against the Lord, because we all do, all the time, many times. And I think this is important for us to find our way into. So we're going to talk about this more on Sunday. And of course, grace will be paired right along with that as well. And it is an invitation for us. In the Catholic Church, the confession is part of a sacrament for them. We have 2 sacraments in the United Methodist Church. The Catholic Church has 7. So confession is not one of our sacraments, but it is one of our means of grace. It's a way that we are very clear that confession opens up space in us for God's grace and healing to come into us. In fact, it's hard for that grace to come in without confession, without that openness. So what is your relationship with confession? How do you notice yourself responding in body, mind, spirit, and heart when you are confronted with the knowledge or invitation to know that you have sinned? What is that like for you? A couple of calendar notes as well. The summer is quickly coming to an end. I can't believe how fast it's gone by. But September 8th will be our fall kickoff. And our fall kickoff is that time when we kind of restart the program year. The program year begins all of our music ministry and our age level ministries, like youth and children's programming kind of starts up again. Our adult small groups, our growth groups and seasonal groups will start again as well. We start a new worship series, kind of the whole fall program year kicks off again. On September 15th, we will have our all-church picnic, as we often do. And then on September 22nd, we'll have a newcomers group start. And I do encourage you to invite someone to our September 8th fall kickoff. I would love for you to be thinking about who you would like to introduce our PUMC community to. Share with them something of why you are part of this community and why it is meaningful to you, and invite someone to come with you. They can join online, they can come in person. Of course, there are many ways to join in, and then again, you can tell them about that newcomers group. We have a group 3 times a year, the small group that meets for 5 weeks to help people learn more about the church, but also to make relationships, most importantly, to make relationships within the church and help people find their place of belonging amongst this group called Princeton United Methodist Church. So these things are invitations for you, and I just want to say once again, this is always a pleasure, a journey, a joy, and a privilege to be on this journey with you. Remember that you are enough because God is enough. You are a beloved child of God. You were created for joy. I'll see you very soon.